Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the regular meeting of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors for Tuesday, July 17th. If you'd please stand, we'll have the invocation given today by Father Jeffrey Smith of St. Luke's Anglican Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Baugh.
Let us pray for our country. Almighty God, who has given us this good land for our heritage, we humbly beseech thee that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of thy favor and glad to do thy will. Bless our land with honorable industry, sound learning, and pure manners. Save us from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogancy, and from every evil way. Defend our liberties and fashion into one united people the multitudes brought hither out of many kindreds and tongues. Endue with the spirit of wisdom those to whom in thy name we entrust the authority of government, that there may be justice and peace at home, and that through obedience to thy law we may show forth thy praise among the nations of the earth. In the time of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness, and in the day of trouble, suffer not our trust in thee to fail, all which we ask through him whose kingdom is everlasting. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, today in honor of those who have so proudly served our nation and continue to serve our nation, would you join with me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father Smith and Supervisor Baugh. This time we have our public comment period. Persons wishing to address the Board of Supervisors are requested to fill out a speaker request form and give it to the clerk. I have several speakers for open time and then several that have turned in for item R7. We'll start with Connie Nielsen, followed by Ronald Nielsen.
Good morning, ladies and the board. My name is Ron Nielsen. I have been in Shasta County for approximately 51 or 52 years. And I'm a veteran. I believe in my country, and I served my country during the Korean War. I have contacted, I don't know who Mr. Modi is. Could you recognize yourself, please, so I know who I'm talking to?
Chair Modi is not here today.
What, ma'am?
Mr. Modi is not here today.
Well, my address was to him. I've notified him on different occasions to try to talk to him. He has never returned my phone calls. The same thing goes for the planning department. I've contacted them on some occasions, and they haven't returned my calls, and also the sheriff's department. And I would like to know why these officials don't recognize that we, the people, have a right to talk to these guys. And it regards business with the county and the government, and the sheriff's department is not going to come up, I guess. I don't know. I've never done this before. But I had stuff stolen off my property. The people had told the sheriff's department they stole it, and nothing was ever done of it. I called the sheriff's department on several occasions. It never was resolved. And I went to the district attorney's office. That was never resolved. They said they had to get a letter or had to get a notice from the sheriff's department before they could process it. So I would like to know why nobody wants to talk to me. Thank you very much. Huh? Yeah, I know him well. I've seen him several times, but when I wanted to get a hold of him or contact his office, they would never contact me so I could talk to him and find out why nothing was done about this surveillance camera that was stolen off my property.
Mr. Nielsen, if you would like to leave your phone number with the clerks, we'll make sure that Supervisor Modi gets the message as well.
I'd be glad to. Who do I? Ron Nielsen, and I.
And did Connie want to speak? Connie?
Yes. I'm Connie Nielsen. I'm sort of echoing the same concerns. We have made several attempts to get some input from the council and from various agencies. Is there no way that the people get served? What do we do? How do we get any help? How do we get any input from any of the council members? Telephone doesn't work. And you can't leave a message and nobody ever calls you back. That's not the way it ought to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Russ Wade.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm sure you've heard of the concept, the seventh generation. The forester takes the neophyte out into the forest and they plan for the people that are to come behind them. And again, I'm here to talk about energy generation from local waste. Good idea. 300,000 tons of CO2, very bad idea. Global warming is a fact, and it's recorded on the thermostats all over this country. Right now, we probably have a combination of global warming and cyclical events going on in 26 states where there are drought conditions. There is ethanol plants in the Midwest. Takes a lot of energy to make ethanol. They are able to sequester and liquefy that CO2. That's what should be done with the Sierra Pacific cogeneration plant. Then you've got something that's really green. Just to pass that through the Planning Commission and rush it, even though you got the largest, probably the largest taxpayer in the county, without sequestering that carbon is irresponsible. Global warming is very, very real, and we've got to respect that and respect our planet and respect all the people that are affected. What happens? We end up with less water, more fires, and we're seeing a lot of that. So I am requesting that you do not approve the cogeneration plant until that CO2 is sequestered. It can be sequestered and liquefied. There is technology for that, and it should be demanded by this board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Mike Ricks, followed by Dolores Lucero.
Good morning, everyone. This is for those on both sides of any environmental discussion. Consider the job-killing environmentalists who are against green, as in dollars from jobs. They also seem to be interested in spending more tax dollars on laws and regulations and legal action. Some old-timers may remember these words. Before the breathing air is gone, before the sun is just a bright spot in the nighttime, out where the rivers like to run, I stand alone and take back something worth remembering. Some old-timers may believe the following. Have any of you ever considered taking an environmentalist to lunch? After lunch, you take the environmentalist for a long drive into the countryside in your four-wheel drive. You turn down a dead-end road and then you go home again. Now you should know that I am no Edgar Allan Poe, but you should all know that it can happen so. This has been my freedom of speech. In closing, I just want to say grazie, gracias, dankeschön, merci, very much for this time of freedom of expression before it is nevermore.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. We have Dolores Lucero, followed by Curtis Brown.
me a second. Good morning. My name is Dolores Lucero. I consider myself as a whistleblower. First thing I'd like to discuss is actually our city, the city of Shasta Lake. As Linda Hartman, you are our representative for our city. I do recommend that you consider all these items that I will be discussing. The first one will be, you have actually a package regarding all the items that I'll be discussing here. So you have the documentation to basically I'm showing you there's documentation to prove what I'm saying. The first one is back in 1997, since I've been saying the city manager's been breaking the state law for 14 years. Ron Lindsay broke the law for 9 years for the conflict of interest, the 1090s. Those are very critical. We all know that. The next one is Rosemary Smith, is a council member now, took Ron Lindsay's place. She has a 215 card, means she's allowed to grow medical marijuana. And that means, to me, that means the state, right now the state and the federal, there's a conflict because of the federal. She cannot legally be on the council for having a 215 card and grow. And also, Rosemary Smith was sworn in by Tom Paseco. I do believe that actually shows the city that is a bad example that we're actually sworn in people who carry a 215 card. And those documents actually, like I said, it was on the paper that she is a grower. She was in the front page. The next one is the election. The city of Shasta Lake decided just to do a verbal change between Kathy Darling and Tony Coates for them to just do their own paperwork and to basically give it to the people who decides to want to run for city council. I think that procedure needs to go through the council and the board of supervisors, not unless you don't have authority or you gave the city manager and Tony Coates the authority to not even come to you for that approval. I do believe that since Linda, you represent our city, I recommend that you start looking into our city because somebody needs to look into all the laws they've been breaking. I'm not here just to make accusations. Those documentations are there and all the documents. So please consider that. I recommend that you have somebody look into changing that procedure for people who want to run for city council for it to be in the county, not in the city of Shasta Lake, because they're going to be mistreated and they're going to be feel they're going to be intimidated.
Thank you, Mr. Sarah.
Thank you.
I have a question. Have you actually spoken with Kathy Darling Allen?
She actually is
Have you spoken to her?
She's actually on vacation, but I talked to the supervisor. Everything was recorded on Channel 7.
I would suggest that you talk to her and understand the point of law.
I actually do, and I did talk to her. So I don't think that should be done just verbal over the phone. I thought that you guys had the authority and the power to make those changes, not the city of Shasta Lake.
Speak with Ms. Allen.
Thank you,
I already
Mrs.
have.
Sarah.
Thank you.
We have Curtis Brown, followed by Sheriff Basenko.
Good morning. I am definitely for Sierra Pacific to enlarge their plant down there, and I'd like to point out something to you. They tried to get the Forest Service to agree on them chipping and shredding their materials and bringing them into them. The Forest Service said, okay, but you're going to pay for everything. The Forest Service should pay for the chipping and shredding, and Sierra Pacific pay for the trucking to bring it in. You're not going to have any difference in CO2 coming out of that plant down there than what you got out here burning. The only difference being we wouldn't have to see the smoke. That's one of the cleaner plants I've ever seen run. They do a good job. They have a lot of people working for them and stuff. They do a lot of good work for the county. Give them the opportunity to expand their plant. It's not going to hurt a thing. And another thing, You hear these environmentalists always say, well, we got global warming, it's terrible, it's really setting us off, look at this drought we've had. Those are normal things. You have droughts ever so often, you have extremely wet weather sometimes. We've been having global warming for millions of years. Ice ages and warm ages and ice ages and warm ages. It's nothing different. It happens. It's just the way the world and everything is set up to do that. And I would just like to point out that the Forest Service is hard-headed when it comes to dealing with a private company like that, and they shouldn't be. We wouldn't be having all this smoke all around the country unless we go back to sawmills like we used to have when I first came here 60 years ago. We wouldn't have to smell the smoke. We'd be able to see our beautiful mountains again. I'd love to see them. It was the most beautiful thing I ever saw when I came out here from Texas when I was a 16-year-old kid. Went my last 2 years of high school at Shasta High. Look up there, stand on that football field and look up there, see Mount Shasta was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. I'd never seen a mountain like that. And to this day, I'd like to see those mountains again.
Thank you.
Sierra Pacific would cut the smoke out.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. And I'd like to invite you and Mr. Wade. We will have a public comment period during the public hearing for item R7. Sheriff Pasenko?
Good morning, Chairman Hartman. Tom Pasenko, Shasta County Sheriff. The headline news today was that we are exploring contracts for out-of-county jail bed space. This is a result of change in legislation that was just signed in July 1 by Governor Brown that allows sheriffs to enter into contracts out of county for non-contiguous counties. That prior to that, that was not allowed by law. It does require the Board of Supervisors to approve the agreement between the counties. Currently, my staff and I are diligently working on several contracts with the county councils from both of the respective counties, and we're exploring contracts for Lassen, El Dorado, Mendocino, and Alameda. There are limited beds in these counties with the exception of Alameda, who has quite a few beds, but it also comes at a very steep price. So we are looking at those prices. We're also exploring the availability of contract beds for fire camps with CDCR. Currently, there is no contract with any county in the state of California for fire camp beds with CDCR. The contract has gone through about 7 or 8 drafts, so working with the state and the California State Sheriff's Association there to this point, and we're also exploring that contract, and County Council is currently reviewing it. This appeared to be a news flash from the Chief of Police, but I informed him right around the first part of July of the change in this, so I believe it was a bit of grandstanding on his part. The jail has had capacity releases since 1993, and then with the closure of the jail, we've had that closed since 2009. My staff is working very hard to get that jail floor back open, and we anticipate it to happen very, very soon. We just closed an application submission, and we have over 200 applicants, and we'll be screening those for correctional officer as well. And we still do need to hire some more people, but please be assured that we're doing everything we can to secure these contracts and get people hired to get that floor open and operational. And even then, that floor will be a very small amount of space, but we are working on that for offender accountability. And I know that Mr. Lees is in discussion with the cities within the county for some type of revenue sharing agreement, and any of the cities, especially Reading, if they want to step up to the plate and assist the sheriff or the county in providing some revenues to operate the jail or an additional jail, they're more than welcome to. Thank you very much.
Sheriff Pasenko. For the benefit of those in the audience this morning, would you explain capacity releases and how that affects the population of the jail?
In 1993, the county and the sheriff entered into an agreement that was agreed upon and was confirmed by the Shasta County Superior Court. It sets the limit in which the capacity of the jail, you may start making releases at 90% capacity. The rated capacity of the Shasta County Jail is 381 when it's fully operational. 90% of that you can start making releases to avoid overcrowding. Overcrowding is a concern because, as we've seen in the California prison system, there's tons of lawsuits, good taxpayer money going after defending lawsuits or having to pay out money to inmates. And then it made it all the way to the Supreme Court for the California prison system. And that capacity order release was put in place to avoid lawsuits and protect the county against litigation. We've been under that since 1993, and that remains to today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff, I just wanted to also thank you for your continued efforts in this matter. We appreciate your perseverance. I can tell you out there on the talking with folks in District 5, we appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
I have one more speaker request form for open time from Ashley Wayman.
Hi, my name is Ashley Wayman. I'm here representing the River Ranch neighborhood. We're located between Jolly Green Giant and Haven Humane. We're kind of in no man's land. We're not Reading, we're not Anderson, we're county. I'm here to represent our neighborhood of 99 homes, with all but 2 I've spoken to against the Sierra Pacific biomass plant, and we have been against it since 2009 when we first found out about it. Our main problems are that we only live 1.89 miles due north of the site, and there is some wonderful riparian forest right there. Mr. Kapusta left us a wonderful park to the city of Reading that is home to lynx, mountain lions, ospreys, bald eagles. You see it all out there. And again, we're less than 2 miles from the proposed biomass plant. It doesn't take into effect that it is on riverfront property, and we feel that there should be a larger vicinity studied than what is required by EPA law, because we are just right outside of that limit where we would have to be considered. We have all original people that have lived there since the 60s, or new families that have moved in as older generations have passed on. We are very, very in love with our neighborhood, and it is, I would say, exactly the same as Churn Creek Bottom, except on the more western side. We live along the river. We're blessed with perfect loam. We all garden, organic chickens, walnuts, cattle, and we weren't included in this EIR. There is also Vertivale School, which is due west, and it is only 0.38 miles away. Knowing that we are very concerned about the particulates. Another factor is in the EIR, they say that they are helping us economically because of the jobs they are creating. They'll be creating 20 to 25 jobs for 9 months, and after that, only 9. Another problem that we see is that the people in our area are not included in the study, and yet within the study, if you go into the EIR, there's a map that shows exactly how far and how condensed these particulates are going to be traveling, and unfortunately, we're right smack dab in the first spot that's going to get hit. I studied these biomass plants with great excitement, and they became popular in the Midwest about 10 years ago under the guise that they were going to be burning biomass. Well, by law, you can also put a mixture of garbage as long as the ratio of garbage to timber is a certain amount.
Ms. Wyman, your 3 minutes are up. Could
Okay.
you wrap up? And you are
I'm
invited
sorry.
to speak during the actual hearing on this item as well.
Okay, and one more thing, actually, I guess I'd better wait, but one more thing is the groundwater they're going to be using. The amount of tons they're going to be using has direct, according to the environmental impact report, a very significant impact of depleting our wells, which we depend on in our groundwater.
Thank you.
So, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Those are all the speaker request forms I have now for open time. If there's no one else, we will move on to item R1. Consider adopting a resolution which recognizes Shasta County's Employee of the Month. This is a resolution of the Board of Supervisors of the County of Shasta recognizing Yvonne Hancock, Program Manager for the Sheriff's Office, as the July 2012 Employee of the Month. The Shasta County Board of Supervisors has adopted the Shasta County Employee Recognition Program to identify exceptional employees who deserve to be recognized and honored for their contribution to the county service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Yvonne Hancock, Program Manager from the Sheriff's Department, is hereby named the Employee of the Month. Yvonne is an exemplary employee whose dedication and attention to detail is recognized throughout the Sheriff's Office, always taking the initiative to step up to the plate and to assist in all program areas within the department. Yvonne is known by her many coworkers for her professionalism and diligent work ethic. Her superior supervisory skills, communication with the public, and unwavering support for the records team illustrate how very deserving she is to be recognized as the Employee of the Month. This passed and adopted this 17th day of July 2012 by the Board of Supervisors.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sheriff Pasenko.
Good morning, Tom Basenko, Sheriff. This is one of the more delightful presentations we always have at the board, and I'm very proud that our men and women of the Sheriff's Office and our staff have been recognized more recently for their efforts. Yvonne is a very outgoing person to assist her team members in our support staff, primarily in records. Very willing to help. As you said, she'll roll up her sleeves and assist when they're a little bit overloaded at the front counter with people coming in for registrations and getting assistance and copies of reports there. If we are short-staffed, which is more often than not, again, she rolls up her sleeves, helps out, and then also gives recognition for those special days for people within the organization, whether it be a birthday or putting together a little lunchtime potluck just to bring the team a little bit tighter together. And I really appreciate her efforts and I'm glad she's part of the Sheriff's Office and Shasta County team. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yvonne, it's my pleasure on behalf of the board to present you with the Certificate of Employee of the Month. You know, I've had the opportunity myself to go over to the Sheriff's Office and be greeted by your enthusiasm and large smile, and it really welcomes people into the Sheriff's Department. So we want to thank you for being such an excellent representative of Shasta County. We also have for you a rosewood pen gift set with Shasta County engraved on the gift box, a DVD award presentation courtesy of Shasta County, a $25 gift certificate donated by the Mid-Management Bargaining Unit to Market Street Steakhouse, a $25 gift certificate donated by the Department Head Forum to the Outback, and a $40 gift certificate to Applebee's donated by the Deputy Sheriff's Association. I'd like to thank all those that donate to our Employees of the Month every year. It's helps show how much we appreciate those of you that do so much. So I'd like to invite the rest of the board to come down and we'll do the photo ops. If you would like to give... She made that clear when I walked down. Our next item, R2, is a proclamation for the week of July 15 through 21 as Probation Supervision Week for the County of Shasta, and Supervisor Kehoe will make this presentation.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Hartman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Shasta County Board of Supervisors proclamation, Probation Supervision Week, July 15th through the 21st, 2012. Whereas the week of July 15th through the 21st, 2012 is nationally recognized as Probation Supervision Week, and whereas probation officers are an essential component of the criminal justice system, working in partnership with many agencies and groups to provide effective community corrections, and whereas probation officers are dedicated, hardworking people who are truly concerned about providing public safety through offender accountability, promoting offender rehabilitation, and preventing crime. Whereas probation officers are sworn peace officers who work in the field alongside other law enforcement officers in our county. Whereas probation officers provide services, support, and protection for victims of crime, and whereas probation officers perform their work in a highly professional manner for the citizens of Shasta County. Now therefore be it resolved that the Shasta County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims July 15th through the 21st, 2012 as Probation Supervision Week in Shasta County and commends Shasta County probation officers. And this is signed by Linda Hartman for our chairman, Leonard Modi, dated July 17th, 2012. I'll move approval of this proclamation.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Supervisor Kehoe. Mr. Foreman?
Members of the board, my name is Wes Foreman. I'm the Chief Probation Officer. I've been in the business now for 33 years, and there is no better time than today to be a part of this great profession. However, Each year the job gets a little harder, and each year the job gets a little bit more challenging. It's not a career for the faint of heart. It is a career for those with strength of character, for those that believe the world can be a safer place, and for those who want to make a difference. So how do we make a difference? We make a difference by teaching parents how to get back in control of their children. We call this the Parent Project. If you ever had any doubt whether we're making a difference, just attend one of these graduation ceremonies. The testimonies of the parents alone will bring you to tears. We make a difference by teaching young male offenders how to be good fathers to their children by being responsible and setting a good example, a crime-free example. We call this the Young Men's Program. We make a difference by being a positive role model to the kids in the juvenile hall and gently motivating them away from criminal thinking patterns. We call this making a difference. We do this 24/7, 365. Probation is a giving profession. So what do we do during probation supervision week? We continue to give. Today, we are giving blood. The blood source van will be in the parking lot behind the probation department from 1 to 5. We encourage all of you to join us. And during the week, we are collecting canned goods to give to Catholic charities. We have drop-off bins at all probation locations. If anyone wishes to donate, just bring what you have to either one of the probation sites, and we'll be happy to take them from you. Members of the board, it's with great pleasure that I'm standing before you today representing a department that is so very proud of what they do because they are making a difference. Thank you. And I would like to, any members of the probation department that are able to come here today to please stand so we can give you an applause here.
Mr. Foreman, on behalf of my colleagues on the board and the residents of Shasta County, it's a pleasure to present you with this proclamation and also thank you for your hard work and the members of your staff. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Kehoe. Thanks, Chief Foreman, and thank you to all of you for all that you do for our community. We'll move on to consent calendar. I have no requests to pull items.
Move approval of consent as submitted.
Second.
Motion and second. Supervisor Moss.
I have to recuse from C4 because I wasn't here. So just wanted to make note of that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under our regular calendar, item R3, Administrative Office Board of Supervisors, receive a legislative update and supervisors' reports. Mr. Lees?
Thank you, Vice Chair Harmon and members of the board. I would like to report very quickly on the state budget that was signed by the governor around the first of the month. Just want to again express my concern over that budget which was signed. Understand that there is a, depending who you listen to, somewhere around a $7 to $9 billion gap in the balanced budget that was approved here a couple weeks ago. How that impacts us is this, and again, I will, kind of do a precursor here and say that this is not a ask to vote for or against the governor's proposition, but this is just what is. The governor's proposition is taken into account, or they're taking that into consideration for this budget, meaning that if that proposition in November to raise sales tax does not get approved, they've got about an $8 billion problem that they were going to have to fill, or an $8 billion gap. So what that means is that trigger cuts will automatically come into play, and there'll be reductions for services as it relates to education, could be public safety, counties, and things like that. So we, Shasta County, will be, in some way, be a recipient of those trigger cuts if that does not pass. And so that's significant because, as you know, they've voted for a multi-billion-dollar bullet train to go somewhere. And that was being polite. and they've, continue to increase their spending without identifying the revenue to facilitate payment of that spending. So I just cautiously optimistic. It's good to have a budget signed so we have an idea of what's going on, but there's still this $8 billion unknown until November when we see how that goes. The other thing I want to make mention and bring to your attention is the fact that cities and counties are still in trouble statewide. You've seen now with Stockton claiming bankruptcy, the largest city in the nation to ever claim bankruptcy, and now you've seen San Bernardino, the city of San Bernardino 2 weeks ago, file for bankruptcy, the second largest city in the nation ever to file for bankruptcy. You've seen Mammoth Lakes, the city of Mammoth Lakes, file for bankruptcy. We saw Vallejo a couple years ago. This is not over yet. We are not out of the woods. Those government entities that have been spending beyond their means are now having to pay the price, and it is not there. And I just want to reiterate that Shasta County, starting in 2007 and 8, we did not borrow. We did not plan on a better day. We took care of our expenses at that point and quit spending. Or we didn't spend money we didn't have, and you've heard me say that many times, that we did not spend money we didn't have. We don't have the debt ratio that other cities and counties have, so we are significantly better off. And in fact, there are some neighboring counties that now will have a very significant issue that will have to be addressed. With that being said, it's not all the fault of these cities and counties. Keep in mind, the state has handed us a lot of garbage. Again, trying to be political, but keep in mind, with the removal of the redevelopment dollars and taking all those dollars back, with the AB 109, the passage of AB 109, and the prisoners now coming back to Shasta County and all the other counties in the state, and the rationale behind that was all that the state could not afford it. So they're putting and transferring all those expenses onto counties and cities that at one time was the state's responsibility. So many of the things that these cities and states were faced with were out of their control. They didn't help themselves by spending beyond their means either. That's one thing Shasta County did not and will not do, as far as my recommendation will ever be. But I think we do have to acknowledge that the state has created and caused a lot of this baggage onto the cities and counties because of they are trying to reduce their expense, but rather than cut the spending, they just transfer it over to us. So I just share that with you. It's a note of caution to know that we're not, even though we have a signed budget, we're not through yet. We know that November propositions will be another indicator as far as whether there will be a cut or whether we will be flush, and it's still going to be a while before we're out of this, what we call recession. And that's all I have.
Supervisor Baugh?
Thank you, Chair Hartman. Mr. Lees, what would happen to Shasta County if we conducted our business the way the state of California conducts their business?
We would be bankrupt.
We would.
We would absolutely be bankrupt.
We would. That's the obvious. I express continued frustration with our state, our governor, with our legislators. Wouldn't it be nice if we actually received a budget that took into account what they expect in the way of income? With all the millions of dollars we spend on accounting in the state of California, you think it'd be a simple matter to add up the dollars that they anticipate coming in and spend slightly less than that. Thank you.
Okay, supervisors' reports. We'll start with Supervisor Kehoe.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Hartman. In deference to those who are patiently waiting to hear item R7, I'll defer my remarks until next meeting.
Thank you. Supervisor Baugh.
As will I. Thank you.
Supervisor Hawes.
Well, I'm just going to say one thing, that I think a lot of our problems in California is the fact that it's hard to build anything here anymore. It's hard to build, to create jobs, to get the revenue. So if we don't turn that attitude around, I don't see anything but going downhill for this state. So we need to wake up and face the fact that I just came through Nevada and Montana a week and a half ago. They're booming. There's outside of Reno, Nevada, and Fernley, there's all kinds of businesses being built. And you know where they're doing business? They're coming into California. So it's our own fault that we pitched them over there because of all the regulations and whatever we have. And we need to take a long look at that. So I'm here on my last few months making my pitches here to get things going again in California, and especially in Shasta County.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass today as well. So we'll move on to item R4. Consider proposing to the City of Reading and the City of Anderson a 5-member air pollution control board comprised of 3 members from the Board of Supervisors, 1 member from the Reading City Council, and 1 member from the Anderson City Council.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hartman, members of the board. As you recall, the first week of April, we received a letter from the City of Reading asking us to consider a multi-jurisdictional air pollution control board. We responded with some ideas. I've had a meeting with the city manager, and we are here today to propose one of the options that was actually presented by the City of Reading. In their April 3rd letter that they sent to Shasta County, one of the options that they asked for was 3 members from the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, 1 member from the City of Anderson, 1 member from the City of Reading, and 1 member from the City of Shasta Lake. That was one of their proposals. The City of Shasta Lake has chosen not to participate, so the recommendation here today is to go with that City of Reading's recommendation also, in that we will have 3 members from the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, 1 member from the City of Anderson, and 1 member from the City Council of the City of Reading. With that, understand that there are some financial obligations that could be incumbent upon the cities. Let me back up. For those entities that participate in the Air Pollution Control Board, they are now on the hook for any financial responsibility that that board undertakes. What that means is that if there's a significant lawsuit, if there is not enough generated in fees for pollution control, then certainly they would have to look, the 3 entities now, if this is approved by us and then also approved by each of the cities, they would have to be involved and agree to raising those rates or covering the cost of the Air Pollution Control Board. So it actually, might make great sense to have everyone participate like this and everyone pay their freight. Kind of be great model to follow for the jail.
Supervisor Hawes?
Are they, the impression is they're not going to get paid extra for this job either, right?
Correct. The Air Pollution Control Board, we do have our standard legal language, but briefly said there is no additional compensation for any board members who participate, whether it be the Shasta County Board of Supervisors or any city council members, as it relates to their functions and duties as a Air Pollution Control Board member.
Supervisor Kehoe.
Thank you, Ms. Hardman. Mr. Lees, and the City of Shasta Lake, by not participating in this suggested initiative, will incur no obligation relative to possible costs. Is
correct.
That correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, obviously, this initiative is of significant financial benefit to Shasta County should the costs not be covered by grants and other assessments.
It is. That observation is correct. I would say this. Typically, this is not something that's funded from general fund. Right. Where it really becomes a benefit is that now if there has to be an increase in fees, that all jurisdictions except for City of Shasta Lake will be approving those and supporting those, or it will end up coming out of general fund. And so that means that everyone is on the hook, per se, to be responsible for their area, which actually makes pretty good sense.
Well, rather than defining this as being on the hook, perhaps we could say that this might be a precursor to a tax sharing agreement where other entities contribute money for the good of the general population.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I have no other speaker requests. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll go ahead and move approval.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lees. Item R5, Agriculture Commissioner. Consider accepting the 2011 Shasta County Crop and Livestock Report.
Good morning. I'm Mary Pfeiffer. I'm the Shasta County Ag Commissioner and Sealer Voice Measures, and it's a pleasure to come before the board this morning to present our 2011 Crop and Livestock Report. I think this is Ag continues to be one of the bright spots in our economy locally, statewide and nationally. So again, it's a real pleasure to let you know that we had a record-breaking year last year, mostly due to higher commodity prices for our livestock and our field crops, again, following national trends. So I'm not surprised, but very happy to see that. We probably would have had an even higher value for our commodities, but unfortunately Mother Nature got in the way last spring. So there's just some things we can't control in ag, but again, it's been very positive. And in addition to the value of the commodities, which are summarized here in the report, I think it's important to recognize that our businesses, our ag businesses, the ancillary businesses, really do contribute again to our economy as well. We have a number of farm and ranch supply stores. The nurseries employ a lot of people in our county, and year-round, not just seasonal, although they do hire a lot of seasonal employees. So again, it's a very important part of our economy. And I would like to thank the contributors to our report. All of our ag producers have been very cooperative in providing us with information over the years and continue to do so. Our farm advisors are invaluable because this is not an easy report to put together. It's only 8 pages, but a lot of work goes into it. And also my staff, they work quite hard and diligently on this to provide this information. And it's very important information, not just because it's interesting, at least from my perspective, but also because things such as USDA declarations of disaster are based on the data in this report. There are economic decisions made by lenders based on this type of information, so it's very valuable and important. And Mr. Kehoe, this information will be available to the public.
Thank you.
Getting you to your question, it will be on our website later this afternoon, assuming the board accepts the report. I have extra copies that I will place in the supervisor's office, and we've mailed it out to those participants, those people who have provided us with information, or we will be, again, after the board decides what they would like to do with the report. And so it is available and will be located in libraries, website, et cetera. So thank you.
Supervisor Hawes.
Well, I'm amazed that we're doing business in 43 different countries around the world. This is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, we have a very strong export market, especially for our nursery crops, but also for some lumber items as well. So we spend a lot of time inspecting them, and it's a very complicated issue to actually be able to export commodities. Speaking of regulations and rules and policies, we basically follow some commodities from before they go into the ground until they're packed, ready for shipment, and so there's a lot of work put into it, but it's a very important role that we play in helping our producers get their commodities into the worldwide markets.
And it's amazing what cattle are up to now. I mean, pretty good.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to continue this trend upwards.
Supervisor Kehoe.
Ms. Pfeiffer, as always, this is a first order piece of work, and I think it's reflective of the outstanding job that you and your staff do. Thank you.
Well, it's a real team effort, and certainly not just us, because without, again, the cooperation of the producers and, especially I've got to give kudos to the farm advisor, because there are certain, areas of expertise they have that we don't have that we very much depend on them for their help. But thank you.
Very good job.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Hawes, did you have another comment?
Well, I just want to thank all of your staff and all of the farm advisor and all the people that did this. It is a huge job. And on the second page here, third page, where you have this beautiful rock fence. Now, not all cattlemen can afford to build that kind of a fence, but that will be there for a while, won't it?
Well, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it might keep a few cows in
And
it.
it did help clean up the field next to it from some of those rocks. So
Yeah, I'd like to have one by my house,
but
but
what a job they have done out there. It is definitely beautiful. And I'll move acceptance of the report. It's well done.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go on to scheduled hearings, item R6 under Public Works. A public hearing to consider taking the following actions regarding tract map number 1969, Dersh Estates. for the Scenic Oak Court Permanent Road Division. Direct the clerk to tabulate the ballots to determine the results of the vote. Adopt a resolution which forms the division. Adopt a resolution which confirms the annual parcel charge report. Receive the annual parcel charge report for the final map. Approve the final map and accept on behalf of the public offers of dedication for public roads, public utility easements, and relinquished access. And C, approve, authorize the chairman to sign the agreement with the Shasta Verde Land Development, Inc., guaranteeing workmanship on Scenic Oak Court and the widening of Dersch Road, and accept the security for maintenance in the amount of $20,750. Kathy.
Sorry for the long recommendation.
I'm not repeating.
Good morning, Chair Hartman, members of the board. This is 11-lot subdivision, and I guess going to Glenn's comment about regulations, you just can't get stuff done without having all the paperwork in order. So we have a lot of stuff to do on this track today. It's 11-lot subdivision that includes the formation of a permanent road division for the maintenance of the internal roads of the subdivision, and also a maintenance bond for any of the work they've done, both for the internal roads and any public roads that have been modified. This project included a widening of Dersch Road. With that, in order, we need to consider, whether or not the PRD has been formed and activated, and whether or not the votes are yes. So I'm going to go ahead and give the ballot to the clerk to tabulate.
I have one question first.
Oh.
The bond, that will cover any flaw that might be there?
That's good for a year for any flaws. I know that there's been some issues with that left turn lane, and the developer has gone out initially and did some work right after it was constructed because the road was a little rough. And they've also come back and done some repair work since then. So
I just question how long it's going to last, a year?
Well, again, they've been out. There were some areas that did have a problem that the developer did come out and repair, and that's not part of this amount of money. This they've been in place for about a year now already, so we'll get another year out of it. If you look at the rest of Dersch Road, it needs attention. The whole road needs attention. So I'm assuming at some point we will be going through there as part of our regular pavement maintenance and probably redoing a lot of that road anyhow.
Well, hopefully before it falls apart.
Well, it's a main road. We take care of them. We take care of the main roads.
But you're right. It's in parts of it.
I mean, we crack sealed it. That's one thing. That gets you a little bit of life. It keeps the water out. But yeah, over time, yeah, they need attention.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would wish to address the board on this item? Okay, seeing none. Can we have the clerk tabulate the vote?
We received one ballot, and the request is for yes, approve.
Okay, thank you.
And to clarify, Chairman Hartman, you'd close the public hearing?
I'll close the public hearing.
There you go.
Okay, and the pleasure of the board?
I'll move approval on the very lengthy remainder. Larger than the subdivision, perhaps.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kathy. And before we go on to item R7, the board will take a 5-minute recess.